Hey guys, it's Christy with Christy's Custom Creations, and on this beautiful Easter weekend, I want to show everyone how I made this absolutely beautiful glitter sunset tumbler using BJ's Diamond Collection glitters. Their diamond collection is absolutely stunning. It's a real light pastel collection and it sparkles like no other. Okay, to get started, I have a prepped 20-ounce skinny tumbler, and I have spray painted the base on it to be a matte white by Rust-Oleum on the very bottom. The next color up is called Satin Island Splash by Krylon. The next color up is Satin Ballet Slipper by Krylon, and the top color is called Matte Soft Lilac, also by Krylon. You don't have to use these exact colors. I just thought that it would go really well with this diamond collection and the colors that I'm using in the collection. Like I said, you don't have to use the exact same colors. This is just a recommendation and it is what I used. So I'm going to go ahead and put a good light coat of epoxy on this cup. I am using, of course, my favorite epoxy, Tumblerpoxy, and I will have a link for that down in the description box below. Put a light coat on here, and after that, I like to always take my butane torch and just very, very quickly torch the cup just to make sure that my epoxy is laying super smooth and that I don't have any air bubbles, because whenever I apply my glitter, I don't want any imperfections in the epoxy or glitter. Okay, now that my epoxy is nice and smooth, I'm going to pull it off my cup turner because I'm going to be ombreing these colors together and I feel like I have more control this way. So the first color I'm going to use is called White Diamonds, and as I mentioned before, it's by BJ's Glitter and it's in their diamond collection. Their diamond collection is stunning. So I'm just going to start on the bottom, get really good coverage on the bottom. Here in Pensacola, Florida, we have beautiful white sandy beaches, and pretty much all along the panhandle we have beautiful white sandy beaches. So I'm going with a pretty white sand color. Next color is blue. It's going to be our watercolor. It's called Blue Diamonds. And I'm just going to tilt my cup. You can see I tilt my cup different directions, and that's how I'm going to create my ombre effect here. I have a lot of people in the Facebook group who has asked about doing ombres, and this is a great example of how to ombre colors together. So I'm going to go back over them all and you'll see in just a little bit. The next color I'm going to use is called Peach Diamonds, and it's just going to start creating our sunset here. And as you see, again, I'm tilting my cup different directions, just trying to blend the different colors together as I go. And where your color changes, you want to make sure that you're really light-handed there. You don't want a real deep color there where the color changes. This next color is called Blush Diamonds, and it's a really pretty light pink. And as you can see, I'm tilting my cup again so that the peach diamonds and the blush diamonds kind of just flow into each other. This very last color that I use is a real pretty lilac, light purple, and it's called Wisteria Diamonds. And I'm just going to really sprinkle it good around the top there and then let it kind of flow down into the blush diamonds that is below it. Once I get a good base on all my colors, you can see here that the epoxy is really shining through this. So I'm going to go through and do another coat, and I'm going to start back on my white, and I'm just really going to sprinkle a lot on there and just really let it flow into the color above it. And I'm going to do the same thing with the blue diamonds. I'm going to let it flow down into the white below it and then up into the peach diamonds above it. And I'm going to do the same thing as I go over it with all of the colors again. So now the peach diamonds, just let it flow into all of it, and make sure you tilt your cup back and forth so that it flows nicely into the other color. And I do want to mention, this is not the only colors that BJ's Diamond Collection has. It's just the colors that I liked best for this cup here. They actually have a really good selection on their diamond colors. They also have a really great selection on all their other colors too, so check them out. I have a special coupon code for BJ's Glitter and their link that I will put down in the description box below. My coupon code is for 30% off their website. It's a one-time use only code, but check it out because they have got some awesome products. So at this point, I realized I completely lost my head and forgot to record me putting the first coat of epoxy on this cup. So now we're going to go ahead and get started on the second coat of epoxy on this cup. And I do want to mention I mixed up 20 milliliters of Tumbler epoxy for both my first coat of epoxy and my second coat of epoxy. So with the second coat of epoxy, I'm pretty much doing the exact same thing that I did for my first. So you can get the point of what I'm doing here. So I just get a really good coat on there, and then I take one finger, I start at the bottom of the cup and I push up. I work my way up the cup as I go. I don't want to start at the top and come down because otherwise you'll push epoxy into the cup. So I just start at the bottom, smooth it out, and then smooth it out on the bottom afterwards. And then I take my blowtorch, which I purchased on Amazon. I will link in the description box below, and I just make a super quick pass over the cup, and that just helps to pop any little micro bubbles that may be trying to hang out and to help the epoxy really smooth out. So after letting my cup dry for about 10 hours or so, it is time to sand it, and like I said, I let it completely dry. If your cup is a little bit tacky, it's just gonna kind of want to gum up a little bit, and so you want to make sure it's completely dry. I sand really good around the rim because I don't want any sharp areas. The Diamond Collection from BJ's is a pretty fine glitter, but I still don't want any little lumps, bumps, anything like that around my rim. I want it really super nice and smooth. And then I'm going to do the same to the bottom, and you want to sand really lightly around the bottom because you don't want to damage any of that glitter right there on the edge. And then I'm also just going to take and sand the entire cup to make sure it is nice and super smooth. One thing that I love about my sandpaper, it's a 220 grit sandpaper, but it has an adhesive sticky back to it. And I bought this sandpaper here on Amazon. I will link that down in the description box below. It is my favorite and only sandpaper that I use. Now that the cup is sanded, it is time to give it its first bath, and I'm just going to take some Dawn dish soap and just wash it down really good. You want to make sure there are any of the loose particles from sanding, oils, anything like that, you want to make sure it's all off the cup. Just wash it down really good, dry it off really good, and then it will be ready to go for our next step. Now that my cup is clean and ready to go, I put it back onto my turner arm, and I have mixed up 30 milliliters of Tumblerpoxy epoxy, and I'm going to take my gloved hand and I'm going to put approximately 20 milliliters of epoxy onto my tumbler as it spins. And I'm going to set the rest of it aside, the other 10 milliliters aside, so that we can make the waves here in just a minute. Now that I've got plenty of epoxy on my cup, I'm going to take one finger starting at the bottom, push up the cup, smoothing out my epoxy all the way around the cup, and then I'm going to take that single finger, make a swipe across the bottom of the cup real quick, and make sure it is smooth. Next, I'm going to take some white opaque dye. It is by Alumilite. I bought it on Amazon. I will link that in the description box below. And I'm going to put 2 drops into my 10 milliliters of epoxy, and this stuff is thick, so you have to cut the tip, squeeze really super hard, and a little bit goes a long way with this dye here. So you just mix a tiny bit into the epoxy, and as you can see, it gives me a nice solid white color. Be sure to mix thoroughly, and once it is thoroughly mixed, we are going to make our waves on our sunset tumbler here. So I'm going to take my popsicle stick, and I'm just going to drizzle some lines right here where my white sand and my blue meet, and I decided I was probably going to make a mess, so I put a little drip pan up underneath it. And because I mean it does drip off when you're putting it on your tumbler, so keep that in mind if you need to put something down underneath it. And you just make some lines back and forth. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to hit it with heat, and the heat is going to make the magic happen. So like I said, here in Florida, we have some beautiful white sandy beaches. So the bottom part is white, and it basically represents our white sandy beaches here. So I'm going to make my waves across the white and then the blue. So next I'm going to take my blowtorch, which as I mentioned before, I got it on Amazon, and I'm just going to make a quick pass across the entire cup. I'm not sure what it is about a blowtorch, but it helps make some really cool waves on these tumblers. So next I'm going to take my heat gun, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the cup, and I'm just going to push the epoxy and the white dye upwards, and it's going to really create some neat swirls, the pressure from it. And I actually have my heat torch, my heat gun, I'm sorry, on high, and as you can see, it made some really neat waves that just, it pushed it around, and as the cup spins, it's going to kind of just do its own thing and really make some gorgeous waves happen. After letting my cup dry for about 8 hours, I used my Silhouette Cameo 4 to cut out this saying for this tumbler, and it says, "She believed she could, so she did." And this tumbler is actually going to one of my very closest friends, Stephanie, and she is one of the strongest people that I have ever met in my life. So this saying is absolutely perfect for her. And so I'm just going to weed it out with my weeding tools here, which I also got on Amazon. I will have everything that I have used in this video linked down in the description box below so that you can easily find it. Most of the stuff I use, I buy on Amazon. Amazon's pretty much a one-stop shop. So I'm just going to use my tool here, weed out all the little bits and pieces, and then I'm going to take my transfer tape, put it on it, and we are going to put this amazing saying on this beautiful tumbler. All right, now it is time for the transfer tape. I'm just going to stick it on here. Make sure that it sticks really super good. Take my squeegee, and the thing I love about the squeegee is the felt tip on it. It doesn't scratch my vinyl, and it's just, I love it. If you don't have one, you need one of these in your life because they are awesome. So once I've got my transfer tape on there, I get my tumbler in place, and I'm going to place this saying on the tumbler here, and it just finishes it off so perfectly. And I love how empowering that saying is, and it goes perfect on this beautiful cup. I've had a lot of stuff happen in my life the last couple of weeks that in my personal life, and this saying means a lot to me as well. So it couldn't be a more fitting cup for what I have going on at the moment. Now that the vinyl is on there and secured good, it's time to pull off the transfer tape, and the cup is ready for its last coat of epoxy. Can we just take a second and appreciate how absolutely stunning this BJ's Diamond Collection is underneath Tumblerpoxy epoxy? I just cannot get over the shine here. So I have mixed up 20 mLs of Tumblerpoxy epoxy for my last coat on this tumbler. And I do want to mention, some people have issues with epoxy basically kind of separating where the vinyl is with reflective vinyls. I don't really have that problem, but if you do, a nice tip for that is you can take a clear spray paint. I always use Rust-Oleum 2X clear gloss and just spray over that vinyl, let it completely dry before you epoxy it, and that will help prevent that vinyl from basically trying to repel the epoxy there. So I have got my 20 mLs of epoxy on my tumbler. I'm going to take my one finger, start at the bottom, and just go all the way up my cup as it spins around, smoothing it out all over the cup. Once I've got it smoothed all over the cup, I'm going to make a quick swipe across the bottom, and then I'm going to take my blowtorch and make a super quick pass around the whole cup, popping any micro bubbles, making sure that it is super smooth. Especially since this is our last coat, we want it to be super smooth and beautiful, and that's it. So our cup is pretty much done. To clean it up, I sand around the rim really good and wipe out the inside with acetone, and then I give it a really good bath at the end just to make sure that it is ready for the customer to drink out of. And here you have it. Look how absolutely stunning this cup is. She believed she could, so she did. That's dang right. We are so much stronger than we believe at times. So if y'all enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And as always, I hope y'all have a great day. Y'all take care. Bye.